Hello and welcome to Quill Tips, a series of videos in which I, Victoria, or Inquillery as I'm known here on this channel, share some tricks and tips of the writing trade that I've picked up over the years. In today's video, I will be sharing some tips to improve your dialogue. So, dialogue. If you're writing a book, you're most likely using dialogue. For some people, this comes really naturally. For others, they really struggle to make it sound natural. If you fall into the latter category, then these tips are for you. Without further ado, here are 5 questions to ask yourself if you're struggling with your dialogue. Number 1, is this something someone would actually say? Sometimes writers use dialogue as a way of world building, and this can work really well if it's done naturally. But on the other hand, sometimes it's just a way of info dumping, and you get your character to basically share an essay on the fundamentals of your magic system. If your dialogue isn't flowing naturally or feels sort of off to you or your beta readers or critique partners, then this might be the first thing you want to ask yourself. Number 2, is this something this character would actually say? Beyond being something in general that anybody might say, people also have specific ways of talking. It could be that your dialogue feels off because what the character is saying doesn't actually fit with the personality you've developed. This could be in their syntax, in the local color of their accent, the tone of the dialogue. Maybe you've introduced a really boring character and they're cracking jokes, or maybe it's a funny character but what they're saying is coming off very flat and serious. Whatever it might be, the dialogue needs to match the specific character's personality that's saying it. Number 3, does the dialogue advance the plot? It could be that your dialogue is actually brilliant and what your characters are saying is entertaining or enlightening, but if it doesn't actually help your story move forward, then it needs to go. While the dialogue may be engaging and not bad by itself, if it's not helping the story move from point A to point B, then it's actually just disrupting your pacing. Make sure every bit of dialogue is relevant to the story you're actually trying to tell, and not just something that you're throwing in there because you love your characters and think it's funny. Number 4, does your dialogue have emotion behind it? This is one of the most significant points in writing dialogue that is actually entertaining or engaging in some manner for the reader. It might be that your dialogue is beautifully written, it's providing significant information for the world you're creating, but if there's no emotion behind it, then the reader isn't going to connect to it. Even if your character is saying something very academic or clinical in some way, there still needs to be some kind of driving emotion behind it because it's coming from a person that does have emotion. It could be your dialogue feels flat because you aren't writing that emotion into what they're saying. It doesn't even necessarily need to be in the dialogue itself, but even just the tags you're constructing around it. What are your characters doing? Their body language, their tone of voice. Those little details are what make the dialogue itself feel relevant and connect to the reader. And finally, number 5, is your dialogue too literal? This one is as important as having emotion behind your dialogue as it is, again, what connects the reader to the character and what they're saying. People rarely actually say exactly what they think. We're ruled by insecurities, by social expectations, by a desire to be perceived in a certain way. So it could be that your dialogue is just stating exactly, too literally, what the character is thinking. If you're doing this, this essentially kills all tension that you've been trying to build. Especially if you're writing an emotional scene or a more emotional genre like romance or even horror. What keeps the reader interested in characters and what they're saying is often what the characters are not saying. This builds opportunity for misunderstanding between characters, which obviously increases the tension of the scene. As the characters try to figure out what each other is actually thinking, the reader's drawn in to the relationship that's being built. If they know exactly what each other feels and thinks, it's too easy and the tension dies. Those are the tips I have for this video. If you have a writing query that you would like answered in a video, leave it in the comments below. Subscribe to hear more writing tips and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed these ones. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!